In today's video, I am going to be breaking down a really deadly defensive strategy that you can use when you're coaching AAU basketball. Now, this is not necessarily going to be for the younger age groups. I would definitely say this would be like grade 5, grade 6, and up. I wouldn't be going anything below grade 6 with the zones, but this gives you an idea anyways. Now, one of the ways that I have been very successful with AAU basketball and getting a lot of wins is this strategy right here. Basically, I run either a zone or a man in like the half court, but without pressuring. I start the game like this, whether it be a man or a zone. Very simple, very basic, very easy. Inside the 3-point line, nothing really outside of that blue half circle. And I do this for maybe the first 2 to 3 possessions of the game. Really quickly, make sure to go check out my Deadly Defensive Strategies book if you are looking to be able to have an absolute killer defense that is going to shut down every single team. Make sure to go check that out. It is down in the description below. And the reason why I do this is because I really want to test out the other team, especially if you're in tournaments where, let's say you're from Ontario, Canada, and you're down in Louisiana, or you're down in Florida, or you're down somewhere where you don't have any other Canadian teams that you know how they already play, and you're playing against teams that you have zero idea about. You might be able to find a game or two on YouTube, but that's about it. So you really want to test out the other team to see how they shoot, how they're able to handle the ball, how they pass, and then you can build your strategy around that, because especially at the older age groups that I really like to coach at, when you're talking U19U, 17U, those older age groups where your team already knows every zone, every man, whatever it is, and you can just say, I want to run this, and they'll do it. You don't need to really practice it. And then, after the first 2 to 3 possessions, I switch to a half-court trap. Generally speaking, something like a 2-3 or a 1-3-1, something like that, some kind of a trap to see how they work against a trap. I usually personally throw a 2-3 or something similar just to see if they're going to try and pass to the sideline. Are they trying to beat me up middle? What are some of the things that they're trying to do? Now, if I'm successful in a half-court trap, let's say I get a couple of turnovers, the other coach calls a timeout, something happens where I am successful with a half-court trap. And I mean a high half-court trap. I'm not talking about just trying to trap in these corners. I'm talking, let's trap up top, let's be an absolute killer and get them at half court. Now, if I can pressure them, or if my team can pressure them at that point where they are at half court and they just can't get past that press, now this is telling me, okay, well, we're probably up 10 to 12 points at this point of the game. Let's put the hammer down and finish this game now so I can get some of my bench in, because we all know when we travel with 11 or 12 players, it's sometimes really hard to get that 10th, 11th, and 12th guy in. And if I can hammer a team early, I can get my bench in and everyone can be happy. So then, after another 2 to maybe 8 possessions, I am going to be then switching usually to a full court trap. And I want to hammer them early. I want to trap early. I want to go at them hard. So, for example, diamond, we can trap here. When this happens, let's say the ball is in that corner. Now, player 3 covers off the reverse pass. Player 5 kind of covers this area. Player 4 starts moving over and covers half court. Unless they do a really long pass down, they're not getting out of that. Then I can build my lead early. And if you can build a lead early, you're even better. But remember, if you're full court pressing or you're half court pressing with a zone, and they're beating it like this, you gotta pull out of it fast. You have to be able to have a team that's smart enough, or at least practice, being able to switch and say, call blitz. As a very good example, I like to run a run and jump. I call it blitz because there's some blitzing screen action that I incorporate in that defense. Of course, you can definitely go check out my Deadly Defensive Strategies that are down in the description below. Those will definitely be able to kill a lot of teams. But this can allow you to then switch to a man where some teams, like, for example, the younger team that I used to coach, last year they were U12, before that U11, blah, blah, blah. This year they were U13. That team was very good at beating zones. And we were a very three-point heavy team. We pulled a lot of threes, so a lot of teams would zone up on us and just hope that we just chuck as many threes as possible. And sometimes it worked for them, sometimes it didn't. But if we weren't hitting our shots, we have to get layups. And the nice thing about this team is while we shot a lot of threes, like I'm talking like we had a game where we took 35 threes. They're young, so 35 threes is a heck of a lot of threes. And when we get to a point where we're just not hitting our threes, well, now we got to get our layups. And if that's the case, well, what happens then is we switch to our zone offense. We stop just trying to pass the ball around and get an open three. We switch to a zone offense, and we can pick apart the zones like there's no tomorrow. We actually struggled more against man defenses than zones. So when it came to beating a zone, it was just like, oh, thanks for the zone. We're going to chuck up threes until we start missing 2 or 3 in a row. And in that case, we're going to pick apart your zone like there's no tomorrow. So that was our strategy. So if you go up against a team that is very good at beating zones, you may not want to run a zone trap. You may want to run a full court like run and jump, where now you're giving them a different look. I've also seen some coaches run like a 1-2-2 3/4 court press before they go to a full court press. But generally speaking, what you're doing is you're starting in your part of the court, then you go to half court. Some coaches will go to 3/4 court and then go to full. I personally start at my end, go to half, successful, go full right away, skip this point. I don't care about the 3/4 court press. I would rather just skip that and go straight to the full court press. Now, this is not just all about trying to destroy teams. The idea here is get a big lead early so you can get all your players in, and then if you need to be able to get your starters back in and start pressing them again, you can. But generally speaking, once you get a big enough lead, get your bench guys in. You don't really need to overly press the other team at that point. Personally, once I get up by 25 points, I pull off a full court press if I'm pressing them. I'll go to a half court press until I'm up to about 30 to 35 points, and then I'll pull back. That's just because, in my experience, a 20-point lead can turn into a loss extremely fast. So 25 points to me is comfortable. Once it gets below like 18 to 17, that's when I start, okay, maybe we should go back to a full court press. But 25 points to me is comfortable. Some coaches have rules with themselves that they just don't press past 20. Other coaches is 15. Personally, it's 25 for me just because I've been burned so many times. Like, I'll give you a very good example. 2 years ago, senior high school basketball, we were up by 20 points. I was told pull off my press by the school principal because we didn't want to overly kill this team. And I looked at her and I said, please let me have 5 more points. And she said, no, pull it off. And I pulled it off. And within like 5 minutes, because the other team just picked us apart at that point, because my team had that mindset of, oh, we won, we're not pressing anymore, we don't need to worry. They gave up. They just stopped playing. They were just doing bad shots, trying to throw up alley-oop dunks from the 3-point line, baseline cutter, 3-point. And they were trying just silly stuff. And within a couple of minutes, we were only up by like 4 points. And I looked at the principal and I said, ah! And we got up and I was able to talk her into allowing me to get up by 25 points, and then I pulled it off. And then the team we were set. It was the end of the game. So that's why I like 25 points. 25 points to me is comfortable. 20 points is like five baskets. They're back into the game. It's very quick. Anyways, make sure to go check out my Deadly Defensive Strategies book, which is down in the description below. That book alone will destroy so many teams because you're trapping right at half court. In some cases, you could run the same strategies full court as well, and they destroy a lot of teams. So definitely go check it out. Hit that like button, subscribe if you've enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you guys again in my next video.